And slate. Okay, you clicked it and you're gonna watch it. This is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K up against the GH5s using the Atomos Ninja Inferno so we can record in ProRes. So we're gonna compare ProRes versus ProRes and Blackmagic RAW versus its internal ProRes versus the ProRes coming out of the GH5s with the Ninja Inferno. I did a bunch of tests. I went to the park, I shot 2 wide shots and a little bit of close-up, and I also shot a little bit of slow motion. And later that day I also shot low light, which is something I was very curious about between these two cameras. All those tests coming up. I hope you enjoyed this video and stick around. Okay, so here we have it. This is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera at ProRes, recording with ProRes HQ ISO 400, which is its native ISO using film log, obviously. And this was shot with the Sigma 18-35 at f8 using an ND filter and the Speedbooster, the Metabones Speedbooster Ultra 0.71. This is the same shot but using the GH5s, using the Atomos recorder. So this is the footage coming out of the recorder in ProRes HQ ISO 800 Vlog-L, which is the native ISO for the GH5s when you're using Vlog-L. And yeah, both cameras I was using the same lens and the same aperture, exactly the same thing. The only thing that changed was the camera itself. This is Blackmagic RAW. I put this in because I wanted to compare the Blackmagic RAW with the ProRes coming out of the camera and the ProRes coming out of the GH5s with the Atomos Ninja Inferno. Here there are all three of them. And what I think is that the GH5s is a little bit more sharper than the Blackmagic RAW, but I don't think that is necessarily a good thing. The RAW coming out of the RAW coming out of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera is very, very pleasing to the eye. It's very soft and cinematic, and I like that very much. It was one of the reasons I bought the camera in the first place. So these are the three compared together. Okay, moving on. This is a close-up shot using a 100mm lens, Rokinon lens, Samyang here in Europe. And this is just trying to get some detail with the leaves. I thought this was a good and demanding scenario for any camera, really. Leaves and a lot of texture and a lot of stuff going on in the image. This is ProRes HQ for the Blackmagic RAW. For the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. This is the GH5s, the same thing. As you can see, it's a completely different image. It's a lot more sharper. The colors seem a little more vivid and sharp. I did not do anything in post. All I did was adjust the contrast so it bring up the image a little bit, but I didn't do any kind of color grading to any of these images. This is the Blackmagic RAW, and as I said before, it's completely different. I mean, it's more natural to me. It's a more natural image. It's more cinematic in my opinion, and I enjoy it very, very much. And of course, you got a lot more room to work it in post. Here are the three of them all together. As you can see, there is a noticeable difference between the RAW and the ProRes coming out of the GH5 and internal from the Blackmagic camera. Again, the GH5s does seem a little bit more sharper, but it's not something I'm very fond of when it compares to something like the Blackmagic RAW. So it has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages, and I do like the softness in the image. I think too much sharpness isn't all that good. This is the low light test. In this test, I purposely set a very, very low light scenario. I mean, the only light you see here in this image is coming from that light in the room. Everything else was turned off. And as you can see, as the ISO goes up, there is a noticeable difference between the GH5s and the Blackmagic RAW. And you can see the GH5s is outperforming the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera in almost every ISO I'm cranking up. As you can see, it's a lot cleaner. And it was something I was suspecting. Some people said the Blackmagic was better, but here you can see it's definitely not better. The GH5s is a low light beast, and this is very, very telling of how you have to really control your ISO when using the Blackmagic camera. My advice to you is not go over 3200, even though you can denoise it, but just don't go over 3200. It's not worth it. And the GH5s is an amazing low light camera, as you can see. Anyway, moving on, we're gonna go for the slow motion shots now. This is shot in RAW because this is a Blackmagic camera, because I couldn't shoot in ProRes for some reason. I don't know why, and I think it's not available in ProRes. So this is RAW, and it is beautiful. I think this slow motion is exceptional. You don't see any aliasing or any artifacts going on in the image. I think it's very, very good. And it's something you don't see with a GH5, which is coming up next. This is a GH5 in H.264 because it cannot record in ProRes in slow motion. You have to record internally, and this is completely different. It's good. It's not as good as the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, but it's good. It's decent. There's some aliasing going on in the building behind the people. It's not that bad. This is 240 frames per second. I also decided to put this in for kicks and for people to see the differences. It's a lot worse here. You can see a lot of aliasing and artifacts in the image. It's not really a to-go frame per second, so slow motion option. Here, side by side, you can clearly see how good the slow motion coming out of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera is. Although you have to deal with the huge crop it has. But I'm willing to deal with that as long as I get good footage like this. It's really good slow motion. I don't see any problems with this image whatsoever. With a GH5s, it's good, but I liked it. But now that I've seen what the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera can do, I've changed my mind. And this is 240 from the GH5s again, up against the Blackmagic RAW. As you can see, it's night and day. One is completely unusable, in my opinion, for something, you know, like a feature film or something like that, and the other one is very, very, very good. And that's basically it, guys. These are the tests that I performed with these two cameras. These weren't scientific tests by any means. This is just me picking up the camera, grabbing a few shots, not grading, but adjusting the contrast a little bit so you can get out of that flat area with the log profiles, and seeing the results and testing them, and hopefully enlightening some of you people and demystifying some myths about low light, especially because clearly the GH5s is a lot better in low light than the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. And that is it, guys. If you want to see more tests like these, let me know in the comments below. And there you have it, gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed these tests. I honestly think that they are both great cameras. The GH5s is a little more ready out of the box to work with, as opposed to the Blackmagic, where you have to accessorize a little more. But honestly, I think they're both great cameras. They're both excellent choices for narrative filmmaking, documentary filmmaking. I have to sneeze. Yeah, but great cameras. And I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video and consider subscribing for more content like this. And before you go, I wanted to let you know that I uploaded a little short film that I did about 2 years ago. And I shot that with a GH5, the original GH5, not the S, and the 5D Mark IV. So if you're curious about how those cameras performed in a narrative film, go check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. I'll probably leave a link as well in the cards over here. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Consider subscribing and liking this video and all that jazz, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much, gentlemen.